It's like, whoa, man.
love it.
And I just got alerts and all kinds of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
So
What's up, Krish and Dan? Yeah, so just wanted to hit live, but Dan, I mean, as far as I remember, you were upstate New York, right?
I was in the tri-state area, so I was in Jersey, but moved out to Austin over this past summer. So got there like right at the tail end of the heat, and you kind of regretted it for a month and a half, and then it got nice out. So so far so good.
Dan, where in New Jersey? Just curious.
I was in a town called Manalapan, so like central, like kind of by the shore. Kind of
okay,
thing.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just moved out a few days ago. So
how many days ago?
A few days ago. I just moved out.
He's literally mid-move. So like you plan this thing, I'm like, Chris, you're gonna just do this thing. That's the only room that's set up in his house right now.
This is the only room. Yeah, it's still a lot.
I mean, I see TVs and or art on the wall. So I mean,
yeah,
that's good.
I'm in a temporary situation. I'm still waiting for my new house to be set up. As are many people in Austin. So
Austin is the place to be nowadays, especially if you're in tech, right?
Very tech, yeah, that's correct. Especially in the crypto world, I feel like there's a lot going on here, the crypto and the blockchain space. So
yeah, for sure.
So as far as timing, timing, I guess, worked for you guys, and timing also related to, I don't know how many weeks ago we booked this, but from my point of view, I've been hearing just people I talked to a lot of people. I've been hearing, oh, there's this company Replay, and there's this guy Dan, and they're talking about stuff in crypto for the space. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, I can't even Google this company, but then it makes sense. Like, that was around that, like that was shortly not before we booked. I mean, obviously I know you, Dan, and then Krish because of this, and we'll learn all about what you're doing, background, what's going on. But it all started to make sense. And then I reached out to you, Dan. You mentioned the Replay. And then I think the next day I saw a release Replay. And then it was official because you guys were in stealth because that was going on. So I'm hearing this. I'm like, what is this? It's stealth. So it was under wraps. And then so congrats on going, I was going to say legit, but congrats on going public with the announcement. I mean, I guess Dan, definitely want to talk to you too. But I know you a little more than Krish. So Krish, I mean, nice to meet you. You're actually the first, and maybe Tom, you were talking. First of all, this is our first like four-way Fodder chat, and then also Krish, you're the first time we Tom and I spoke to anybody like this is the first time we're meeting. So that's super cool. So all responses here and forth will be legit. And looking forward to this conversation. And I definitely want to warn you. So this is syndicated, a couple platforms. Also, it's on my Facebook. So definitely, like, my grandma's watching, so we can't go like too low level. Like definitely want to keep it high.
We're gonna keep it high level. Yeah,
for her sake. But I mean, who's Krish? Talk to us about your background, and obviously, with Replay, and then you've done stuff with, and then maybe without Dan, like last few ventures.
Yeah. Actually, everything I've done was with Dan. So he's been
nice.
So Dan and I, we've met, I would say, right out of college. We started our first company together. It was a company called Mojiva at that time. It was effectively a mobile ad network, a mobile display ad network. And this was literally when the iPhone just came out and mobile was a thing. And, we felt like it was an appropriate time. And it was. We had quite a ride at that company. We ultimately spun out another sister company called Motion Mobile. And that was more like a double-click platform equivalent for mobile. Effectively, and so we grew quite a bit. I mean, we had over, we had over a dozen major clients using the platform, including Microsoft at that time, Skype, etc. Basically, we were the dedicated ad systems or ad server platform at that time. I'd say around, what was it, Dan, like 2012, 2013? I always get the numbers.
It was 2014.
2014, there we go.
Yeah,
so 2014. Yes, so 2014.
That was like an 8-year run, that company, right?
It was a while. It was 2007, 2008 to 2014. We sold that company.
Okay. So founded the company 2007,
2008, I would
2008.
say. Yeah.
Okay.
2008.
Perfect.
And in 2014, we've sold it. It got acquired by a company called Pubmatic. It's based out of the Bay Area in Redwood City. Now they're actually public now. Just I think a few years ago they went into the Nasdaq, I believe, which was great. It worked out very well for our investors. I would say after a long-term hold. So then after that company in 2014, Dan and I started experimenting with some ideas. We definitely wanted to be in the video space. We felt like that was like at that time the next thing, and the web was all video, and and there was a lot of opportunity, and that led to the launch or conceptualization at that time of Unreal. And most of these, even though Dan and I started, I'm more on the tech side. I take the CTO roles. I'm kind of the engineer, the architect, and Dan's more on the biz dev and the more strategy side of things. But I feel like we both are doing, we're counteracting each other in the success of the company. So anyway, so in 2014, 15, I would say we launched Unreal, which effectively was I would say a white label streaming stack for building mini or niche streaming services. So we were operating a platform that enabled anyone to kind of launch their own network. I would say similar to like a Hulu or a Netflix, but a much more niche, much more targeted.
Quick question, Krish. I'm going to interrupt you for a sec. So when did you guys do Float Left? When did that start, that whole journey?
2009.
Float Left started, late 2009.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So like we felt we were super early in building an OTT publishing company. You guys, like we were in the middle of mobile ads. The iPhone was 2 years old, and you guys were building OTT publishing company since 2009.
Yeah, very custom services primarily for Roku, and that was like that got us through the first three and a half, 4 years maybe, and then we started thinking about okay, how do we package these things together and create a like you guys had started from the ground up a templated white label approach to distribution. So, but yeah, we got in there early.
You guys had the entire infrastructure, right? So it's the front end apps, the back end infrastructure, any monetization piece in there as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we built it up. We actually started with a focus on MCNs. So like our thing was MCNs are going to want to go direct to consumer. We should build tools for them. So we built this really easy on-ramp from the YouTube ecosystem into kind of our CMS, and then built the whole publishing stack so that, again, starting with Roku and Fire, and then mobile apps. Then the CMS kind of evolved, kind of pretty significantly over the years. We coming, just kind of to what Krish said earlier, right? Like we came from an ad background. So we very much focused on ads out of the gate and ad support and monetization. So, built our own kind of ad stack and wanted to focus on those kinds of those business models, and then it's really evolved. So that kind of platform, we were kind of came into it at a weird time. Company was acquired, and then most recently kind of acquired again by a company called Bit Central, which is really exciting. So that kind of continues. The platform continues to go out there and scale, and we're still building partnerships and building OTT, and it's really exciting.
That's the most amazing thing about it, is when you create something and then it's just you see it, even after you've left the business, it's still exciting. Being utilized with other businesses, and how they're bringing that tech to market is really awesome.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like looking back, even like Pubmatic now, when Krish kind of glossed over. I mean, they're like the one of the top 2 or 3 public ad companies out there, building a multi-billion-dollar ad business on top of this stuff that we worked on 8 years ago. It's crazy. I mean, we're a small part of it. We're the mobile part of it, but it's still that's the fun part. I know you guys have all been serial founders too, right? So you get
well, that's actually a great segue, Kirby. If you don't mind, I just wanted to jump in real quick with something. So we changed the name of this to Fodder. It's still called Friday Fodder, but we're actually relabeling this as Founder Fodder, because we definitely want to have a thread of getting into the mindset of the folks that we're talking to from a business perspective, and like what inspired you guys? Like, first of all, Krish, I know that on your bio on the website, you actually use the phrase serial entrepreneur. I'd love to get your take on that. Is that because of you just have a passion for building businesses? Dan, this goes for you too. This is an open question for both of you.
I'll let Krish can take it first. Feel free.
But,
yeah,
is it really about like you just wanting to, like, is it just that, hey, there's something that doesn't exist and it should exist and we need to build it? Or is it just, I just have a passion for creating businesses? Where does it start and stop for you guys?
So I would say from my perspective, it was, I've actually never really technically worked for another company. I would say even after graduating college, my dad at that time gave me an ear to go figure things out. And I really loved just kind of doing things myself. I was not a fan of like, I guess like we always say like, you got to be a team, you got to be a kind of work in that mindset. But for me, I always felt like I wanted to drive that. Like I wanted to drive the vision. I wanted to drive the innovation, and really creating something from scratch just gave me that adrenaline. Like, that really like, it was not, yes, it's about like, building something or making a difference and things. I think all of those for me are bonuses, but really it all came down to like, it just like you mentioned, Tom. I mean, effectively, like, when you see something that you create and is actually being used by someone, or actually seeing it making a difference and things like that, it really touches me somewhere, like in my heart or something.
Man, you nailed it. That's Krish. That's such a great way to frame it up. That's exactly how I feel about it. It's like, it's the ultimate form of creativity.
It is. It is.
You think about artists and people that paint and write and do all that stuff, but like building a business is a creative endeavor.
It is.
And
I do like, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
And I do compare myself to an artist, absolutely. In my own way. It's like I love to create and invent and things like that. For that to actually make a difference in the future, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. The challenges with people and getting those folks to work together, and it's an incredible experience. So I completely relate to what you're saying about how it just hits you somewhere and you don't really understand it, and it is addictive. It is something that
it's an addiction.
Addictive. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan,
to that point.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to both of your points, Krish and Tom, and I didn't have this realization until maybe 3 years ago. So I officiated my stepbrother's wedding. By the way, I'm an officiant. If anybody listening or ever hears this can marry you. Get the certification. Takes about 2 minutes online. But the challenge is actually writing the ceremony. Like,
I was going to say that can't be the easy part.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
as joke as how easy it is to become an online minister, like if you doing it and taking it seriously, like the ceremony is kind of nerve wracking. Like this is going to be footage. This is going to be like, this is like like this is people's lives. Like this is a huge turning point on the union of two people. And so while I was writing the ceremony, I had this just thing hit me, and basically it was my aha moment for like just being like my passion in life, which I think is very much what you said. So I was writing in the ceremony. I was talking about it was during the ring exchange, and I was talking about the ring. It symbolizes a circle of life, and how the ring wasn't just dug out of the ground as a perfect circle, but it was like started as like something that needed to be dug up and mined and like created to what now symbolizes the ring. And so after the rings were exchanged and I was just doing my wrapping thoughts on the ceremony, I then combined this love of this union I was these people I was marrying to the ring, where I said something to the effect of, just like the ring, this couple's love wasn't just created that way. They had to like get all the artifacts and then create this love the same way the ring had to be created. And when I wrote that, and then even more when I actually said it, I was like, holy shit. My number one passion in life, what drives me is just making things like that. Like no discredit to Float Left or anything else I've done, but it's just the fact of building things. And what I mean by that, and like, no discredit, like to me, and this is weird, but this is just me, and I'm a weird guy. It's been already like said on these podcasts, is whether you start a company, this is for me, and amazing things. Float Left we did.
Yeah.
And I like to make pizza as well. Starting a pizza from scratch, from some flour, water, salt, and what I'm missing ingredient, whatever. Like it's the same thing for me. Being able to make that from absolute scratch and see what it turns out to be is so cool. And Chris, to your point, so there was a period of time I was thinking about like starting a pizzeria, and to your point of like seeing people now use that and like get the reactions. That would be like if I could actually make a pizza from scratch and give it to somebody and then see them love it. Like, oh my God, that's just amazing. Totally. Not that people didn't love the apps and stuff we were building, but it's B2B. There's people enjoy pizza a lot more than businesses are going to enjoy applications and projects you deliver to them. That's just without saying.
I think the common thread is like just creating something of value, right? Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a business, but businesses tend to have a bigger impact. But even like just an article, writing an article and posting and someone going, whoa, man, that really opened up my mind to something interesting. I think is just, I get the same kind of rush from that I do of.
I've noticed you're picking up your writing game. So that's impressive. That's something I kind of always think about and haven't done. And I keep reading your inspirational posts on just going out and doing it. But that's
it's kind of the what you got to do nowadays. You got to get yourself out there. And I was for years I wouldn't say I was terrified, but I felt very awkward about putting myself out there, especially on LinkedIn. But since I started doing that in January for my own personal brand and my new business, it's been amazing. Like the support is incredible. Like you're either going to have trolls, by the way, and on LinkedIn, you don't really get too many of those, but if you do, they actually it makes them look worse than you, if you're just putting out something. But 99% of it is very supportive and people getting a lot of good feedback. So I recommend, Dan, get on it, man.
That's all. Look, this is far from my comfort zone here. So I was going to say, so this is like the first live thing I've done. We did a podcast, which actually came out today. Our first podcast, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, first
pretty cool. So like, getting out there, I think is really important and different now. And actually, maybe that's a different thing and something you guys can cover in Fodder. It's like you build businesses now in the public. That's different, right?
That's my newsletter, man. Building in public.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a totally different landscape and thing to do. Like, I think, like you said, Kirby, earlier, you used that word stealth, right? You're always kind of, in the background, thinking through all these ideas, trying to figure out, what's actually going to work. And, you go through these months or sometimes years of planning, and then you get something out and then you change it and change it and change it. Like, to me, that's the fun part, right? And then you kind of find something that actually works, and like the thread from where it started to where it's going could be completely different. But now that a lot of that journey happens in public, and there's also a lot of, particularly in like the kind of the crypto space, there's a lot of pressure to move very quickly, right? Because at least there's a lot of, you guys see it every day, right? There's just a ton of noise, a ton of activity, probably faster than anything I've ever seen before. So,
I know. Forget trying to go on Twitter and getting anything out of it on there. It's just like I've got people that text me. I have a book that's behind me that you can't see because it's blurred, but I have a book there on just sort of like, the basics of blockchain and crypto 101, because I really wanted to just stay up to date with it. But there's so much happening so fast. The book's already outdated. So
right. That's it's we the thing that's fascinating. I think like I've kind of tried to participate in a couple of these projects that are happening. I don't know if you guys have seen like Blockbuster DAO or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That's this group that's kind of come together to bring back the Blockbuster brand. And if you step away from the Discord for 2 days, it's in a whole nother universe.
Oh man, I can't.
And so imagine. Now picture that times every industry, right? And it's pretty funny. But so it is hard, and I think that's kind of a thing you try and balance. Because again, I haven't,
it's a balance.
For 15 years, haven't experienced anything like that before.
I mean, that's why I've always, this kind of goes back to competition and just everything related to that. But you just got to figure out what your focus is and just
you can't pay attention to the noise.
If you try to track down the noise and if you try to chase everything that comes in your way, you're never going to get anything done.
Yep.
So.
That's a big thing. I feel like Dan and I, it's a lesson that every founder has to go through, right? Because there's so much noise, there's competition, it's oh my god, like all this stuff. And it's really, you have to really be careful on not, kind of making sure you're focused, and, you're obviously listening, to feedback. You're not like ignoring it, but it is important to focus. Sometimes, it'll all work itself out. And that's what
100%.
happens.
I talk about this so much, Krish. Like, there's this, whenever you talk to anybody about the creator economy and how do I get started and what do I do and how do I build in public, the first thing you're going to hear is, okay, you have to pick your audience. Who are you talking to? Right. And what's happening now, it's like you're getting so focused. It's like just where you thought you've niched down as far as you could possibly get. It's like, I want to only work with like left-handed dentists that drive race cars that, it's so crazy. And there's always an audience for it. And so that's one of the things that's really hard to do. I would imagine for for you guys too, because you have so many interests and so many capabilities of things that you can actually do, that it's hard to say, okay, well, how can I add, what audience is going to get the most value? What audience am I going to be best serving with what I know? And that's really hard to do. But yeah, I mean, it's finding your audience and getting targeted, and but even from a product perspective too, just staying hyper focused on it, and not get distracted. So
yeah, that is definitely it's probably the biggest challenge, right? And, either that or like, you can, kind of, there's that, you can have a gift of being stubborn and just tuning everything out and, just going all in. And there's a lot, plenty of very successful entrepreneurs that have done that, and plenty that have failed not listening to feedback, so.
Yeah, I was going to add one more thing. I mean, even in the conceptualization of replay, finding that audience is what took. We knew the audience, but there's so many ways to tackle the problem, right? So you could go this way, you go that way, you go this way. You have to really think about what is, like, who is your true audience that you want to, solve for, and obviously balancing it with, what is the easier execution strategy, right? Because you don't want to pick an audience that's impossible to acquire, or hard. It's a difficult ladder to climb. So I feel like Dan and I talk hours and hours, sometimes a day, just like talking through different scenarios. We like visualize. We're like, okay, let's assume we go down this path, and what does it mean? Like, who are we how are we executing? What is the plan? What is the roadmap? And then we're like, oh my God, that's different. That's insane. That's going to be, that's like a moving a mountain, and that's what we spend a lot of time as founders, and conceptualizing the next company. And ultimately, I think we came up with something that we think makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, Krish, go ahead, Kirby. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you want to finish that thought? I was just going to.
I was just going to say, I think that what you're describing, Krish, is what's really, really hard for first time founders, especially.
Yeah, it is
to work through. It's like, where is it enough? When do I stop iterating on the idea and just start putting something out there?
Yeah,
really hard to figure that out. And you're, if you're like me, where you tend to overanalyze everything, you never actually have enough data. But the paradox of the whole thing is that if you don't put something out there, you can't get the
you have to just at some point jump in, right? I mean, you have to kind of at least pick a place and start. And then I think, looking back at Unreal, I mean, our idea was to do something in the consumer space. Like, we wanted to come up with a better way to, navigate video. And we built something, and we thought it was really cool. Then we realized we had no idea how to build a consumer audience at the time. And then we're like, okay, there's all these other people in the form of creators that know how to build audience. Let's just give them the tools. And so that's kind of like, and I think when we
pivot, I guess. Yeah.
I love that, by the way, Dan. I actually, we toyed with that for a while. Like, that's the target customer, right? Like, we want to work with all these YouTubers, not just YouTubers, but that kind of that segment of the market where they're just frustrated with the algorithms, and they just want something they could just put together quick and get to market quickly. And we just never got there. But you guys used to come up a lot in conversations. Like, we always were up against Unreal Me. I'm like, God damn it, these guys, Unreal Me again. And we knew that if they were going AVOD and we were up against you guys, we're all
that's
right.
So funny. Well, yeah. I mean, that's also the best kind of part of all this stuff, kind of reflecting years later, right? Is like, it always feels like the grass is greener, right? But I think the reality is, like, it is I think you only get there through putting something out in the market and then pivoting. And in the early days, you guys obviously had a different, kind of well, it's not all that different, right? You had Roku, right? And that kind of was a customer that you.
I liked your model. I wanted to pivot to your model, but we were so far down the rabbit hole with those certain types of customers that we couldn't really undo that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys
But
were.
that's what happens, right? I mean, that's kind of also why, a lot of times, I think, and I'll let Krish talk about replay in a second. We probably get to it, but
yeah,
a lot of times what happens is you have kind of these, a lot, especially in the Web3 space. I mean, you have rapid adoption by large enterprise of this new kind of paradigm of NFTs and saying they're building blockchain teams. But the reality is a lot of those businesses are locked in, right, in terms of what they can and can't disrupt about themselves. And then you kind of can build and kind of navigate through those, through those spaces. But anyway, so Krish, I know you were going to say something. I cut you off.
No, yeah. I think that was it. I think
you have something, but I want to just make sure you guys have time to talk about replay. I definitely want to hear about it. So
that's all. That's what I was gonna say. Is like,
okay,
let's hear about replay. Tell us about replay.
Yeah. You know what, Krish? Before you dive in, if you could, for the audience, because we don't know how deep they know their knowledge on Web3 and all this stuff. Just can you give us a high level of what's going on, and then dig in and give us what you're doing in there?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely do my best because it's simple and it's complex. So we gotta find a balance.
Yeah.
So obviously, crypto and blockchain, blockchain that powers the crypto has been around for a while. It's been something that even Dan and I mean, as we were operating Unreal and even Mojiva, we heard of it, and it's something that's there. I think I bought 2 Bitcoins back in 2013 or something like that. It was. I wish I bought more. But,
wow.
Whatever.
Okay.
So it was cool. I wanted to do that just to understand what it was, and it was funny because at that time we had our office right in San Mateo at that time, and there was a whole crypto accelerator right downstairs.
Dude, I think Coinbase was born on top, literally on the floor above you, right? So you had Coinbase and all those initial exchanges being incubated.
I was right above,
sitting there doing Unreal. Yeah.
It was insane.
Wow, that's
it was
really
it was
cool.
the Draper.
In the Draper, it was
I was in the Draper office, and literally it was an entire crypto community, and it was amazing. But when I walked down, the restrooms were downstairs where the crypto guys were. So every time I walked down, I was like, "What are you guys doing here? This is insane." But they were really the early thinkers. They were really the early thinkers. Anyway, so long story short, in my opinion, more than crypto in general, I'm fascinated by the blockchain technology itself. Right? Blockchain, as a concept, is all about decentralization of data or of whatever you want to put out there. So, it's a set of computers that are, distributed across the world. Nobody really owns them technically. They're all the owner or the guys operating those computers are effectively incentivized, using some mining or tokens, and that's where the crypto kind of comes in. It's really the it's really the incentivization of why I'm actually dedicating resources to power this whole distributed network. And ultimately, it's really building the new kind of internet, right? Or at least on top of the internet, right? You can build all kinds of applications which use the blockchain that is distributed and no one really owns it, and effectively try to make it in such a way that it's fully transparent. It's all open, so anyone can obviously go in and inspect a block or inspect a transaction and see what's happening and what data is inside it. And today, obviously, we're calling it Web3 now, but in the Web2 world, let's say, everything is centralized, it's controlled, the data never really goes out. People are, you don't really understand, well, not you, but they control it. Whoever is obviously owning it.
Platform
but in the Web3 world, it's all distributed and it's all. Yeah, Dan, I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say platform operators control the data, and it's kind of a one-sided relationship, right?
It's a one-sided relationship. And I was going to say one more thing. It's very community driven. So because the community, quote unquote, the guys that are dedicating their resources to effectively power the blockchain are incentivized by using the blockchain more, right? So the more blockchain, the more the network is being utilized, the more they're also being incentivized. So the community is actually inviting people to actually build on top of their blockchain. There's so many blockchains out there. That's the other thing. But they're all community driven at the end of the day, because there's miners that are dedicating resources and so on. And they're all incentivized in some way, which is really awesome, I think. And that's what I think, as Dan mentioned, like the new way of companies are very public now is because it's all community driven now. And they're all incentivized. And I think that's blockchain, right? It's a distributed fair model for everyone, right? Who's participating in, kind of completing something, whatever it is.
Right. Yep.
Which is what I truly love about it.
I love the tech. I love as well, like the idea of the blockchain, how it works. It's extremely interesting. And when you think about how it works, in terms of, like you said, how people are incentivized, how like the blocks are created and how they're tethered together and all of that with the hashes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It does really open up the possibility to, like, you can use this for anything. Like literally anything could be built on this. Apps today, the D apps and
D apps,
all of that tech is really, really interesting. And I actually was experimenting with something. It was I think you probably would know what it is. It's a real estate app that's on the blockchain where you can, it has its own currency, of course, but just really cool stuff. So,
and that comes, and so that kind of begs that's kind of like, the thing. So like, because of the vast opportunity, right? Putting a founder hat on, right? You want to think about, where are the actual market opportunities to drive this thing forward, right? Like, a lot of the market is valued on future use cases, right? I mean, that's how a lot of things are really valued. And so, in kind of putting the hat on of, okay, like where's the, we kind of all see this future that's decentralized and transparent and community oriented and driven by decentralized companies. But like, how do you actually create something practical today that gets us, one step further in kind of the mass market adoption of this stuff? And I think that's kind of like, you just talked about, Tom, right? There's real estate attempts. There's a lot of finance stuff happening. And Replay is kind of, an attempt to basically take those same market dynamics of blockchain and kind of
the
cryptocurrency and apply them to, a problem that I think we all actually on this call can understand and relate to pretty well. It's like content owners don't get paid very quickly, and they get screwed over a lot of the time because at the end of the day, the distribution platforms that they're delivering content on are entirely in control of the process, and themselves are the victims of slow payments and stuff, right? So it's a when you think about the rise of the OTT ecosystem at large, right? Like, Kirby, you're like the biggest champion of this, right? Like cord cutting trend. Like we're talking about a $70 billion market going to a $100 billion market. It might be I don't even know how big this thing is, like accurately measured, but like our view is that that's a giant market where everyone that's, contributing content can be, compensated better and incentives can be realigned. I think that's kind of, what Replay is attempting to do is to apply those same kind of, blockchain principles of transparency to the delivery of video. And if you do that, that kind of opens up a whole new set of exciting opportunities.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was just Krish, I know you're going to jump in with something, but I this is what we were talking about actually on our last episode was, the intersection of like, how does this impact the content industry that we've been playing in for the last decade, and how, but I mean, credit to you guys on this, to come up with, for me, I have to have such a firm understanding of the landscape before I'm even able to understand what the problems are, to be able to say, okay, here's where I can make a contribution. So congrats on all that. And Krish, why don't you dig in a little bit more and give us the replay
that's
specific.
Exactly what I was going to actually say. It all was because we've effectively at Unreal, we not only powered, networks, right? Stream that whether it was SWOD or AWOD, and where we controlled kind of the content delivery and the payments and everything. We also had our own kind of media network where we were operating some of our own apps, and we were working directly with the content partners and dealing with all of the end-to-end, how do we get content? How do we host it? How do we run it? How do we monetize it? And who do we collect the money from? Every single aspect of it we were involved in. So we definitely took a lot on our plate operating Unreal, but we definitely learned a lot. And also talking to the clients that we powered, they had, we had the issues, right? Like when we were licensing content from the various different aggregators and creators, reporting back to them was a chore, because it was pretty complex to kind of attribute revenue to the specific video asset. And more importantly, how do we kind of, especially if you're kind of creating a playlist and a dynamic playlist of different types of content, it was pretty complex to kind of make sure that we were able to report back to the creator on time, and then more importantly, pay them what they actually deserve. So we were actually our own, like we had that problem. And like I said, when we were talking to the clients, they had the same problem too. Like it was crazy. It got to a point where the relationships that they had with the creators, they were only paying them the bare minimum, like whatever their monthly minimum guarantee at some point, because it was just impossible to, and this is a problem that, like, I think a lot of people in our industry understand.
If you don't have 15 people on your accounting staff, right? I mean, that's
exactly. And that's their solution today, is like they have a big group of, like, a team that's like doing auditing and manual. That's what we did.
Which easily could be its own business, by the way. I mean, there's flows around this stuff. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So many businesses, out, like content ops, ad ops,
ad ops, yeah, reporting,
revenue reporting. I mean,
it was insane. We had a lot of people trying to figure it out. Dan and I knew there was a better way. Obviously, it was, we were already tackling a lot on our plate. We didn't want to, defocus out of that, but we kind of already knew what we were going to do next, to be honest with you, while operating Unreal and Power and so on. But anyway, so that's where I would say the initial kind of concept of replay came in, is like, and especially as we dove into the blockchain technology and what it brings, and the fundamentals of why blockchain is even important. It kind of was a perfect marriage to the problem, right? It's like, okay, if we actually put everything on the chain, and if everything is, tracked on the distributed ledger that no one really controls, and it's fully transparent, and we make sure that the money flows, basically near real time between the guy who's licensing the content and the guy who's playing the content, or distributing the content, the guy even who's playing the content. And because blockchain is all about incentivization, we just make sure everybody is incentivized, like, along the way. And all we had to do was build a protocol that enables it, like, really, that's the bottom line, and allow people to kind of build anything on top of it, as long as, they're respecting the incentivization models for delivering content.
So, Krish, let me ask you what might potentially be a really dumb question, right? So are you are, and maybe you just answered it. It sounds like you're building your own, so there's the blockchain, there's, as you mentioned, there's so many different types of currencies or crypto, right? Like Ethereum, I don't even know, I wouldn't even, is that really even a currency? Is it more, it's more of a protocol, right? It seems like it's more of a protocol. Are you actually developing your own, or are you?
So that's a good segue. So we actually partnered with, and these were our effectively our backers, our early backers. We partnered with Theta Labs. So Theta is a decentralized P2P video streaming platform. They've been around for many years. They built the protocol. They effectively built it from. I think they forked it from a different blockchain, but they've effectively created their own protocol, their own backbone, if you may say, with their own miners and their own stakers and stuff like that. So we actually, and Theta Labs being they're tackling to be kind of the next CDN. Like they want to be the CDN on the blockchain effectively, and they have really amazing ideas and big ideas and vision
and massive partners already too, right? Like they're already widely adopted.
They're widely adopted.
Google, Sony, Samsung,
Lionsgate,
Lionsgate, Cinedigm, yeah. So and more recently Jukin Media, and so on. So we felt like they were the right partner for us to, and also our backers, the right strategic investors into our company, because and we decided to build our technology on top of their blockchain. So we're actually doing it. We're actually rolling out the rPlay token as a TNT20. It's basically an ERC20 equivalent, but in a TNT20 token. But because we are in the same ecosystem of video streaming and delivery, and then so Theta is like the video streaming and delivery component, and then we're the video tracking and payment component. So we kind of was a perfect like marriage, I would say, between.
Yeah, this thing couldn't be teed up any better, right? It sounds like it's just like the perfect confluence of investor and tech, and so they're strategic and they're providing you with the capital that you need.
Exactly.
It sounds very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah. Go ahead.
So question how this let me just like AMC Plus. Let's talk like can I use AMC Plus as like an example, maybe a partner you can work with? Is that a good one for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so existing media company, everyone knows AMC, and they have already properties in their own app available, multiple connected TV and mobile platforms. And you guys are solving definitely an issue with the way content is tracked and licensed and paid out. And obviously it affects AMC as it affects nearly everybody, really. So AMC already has a service, already distributing in basically everywhere there's an internet connection and video. And they want to solve the problem. How does a company like AMC Plus work with Replay? And let me just pause it there. Like walk me through what that relationship looks like and where is content being shown and so forth.
So there's a couple of use cases there, but let me start with one. So with AMC Plus, effectively in our platform, they're a distribution, like they're a distribution channel. And they probably have their own set of content partners that they're working with, and they have some kind of relationships with them in terms of business models or rev shares or minimum whatever they have relationships with. They would come to us, so AMC would get access to our platform, and we would effectively provide them with what we call like a wrapping technology, like a wrapper type interface. So we would wrap their existing streams that they already have with our tech. And the wrapper acts as like a proxy, I guess you can say, right? All we're doing is we're intercepting the stream so that with every single playback at the end user level, we're able to track and we're able to understand what's actually going on from a consumption basis. They can also set some kind of financial criteria, or parameters rather. You can say, all right, this is the content creator and this is how much. We've taken the approach of a per hour consumption model. So it could be 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents per hour consumption model that you want to pay outright to the content creator. Now that obviously translates into our crypto on a real-time basis, but ultimately it's at that level, right? And so once that's done, we figure out like, okay, who needs to get deposited and how much and so on. And it goes directly into what's called a custodial wallet, so into the creator's hands. So the creator kind of gets gets paid in our crypto equivalent of, let's say, 50 cents an hour, and they're able to withdraw it at any time. And that's a process, but there is a process for it. Now the distribution platform is the one that's kind of paying for the stream up front. Now, obviously, AMC it also has a cash flow, issue too, right? That's why they're not able to pay the creators in real time. They need to collect money from either their users, or they need to collect money if they're an ad model. Ads, we all understand, takes net 60, 90, 180 days, and so they're also waiting for some time to actually pay the creators. So we have an interesting approach to it, to solve that piece of it, where we actually provide credits to AMC Plus, to reward the creators, or to pay the creators up front, because you got to really think of our replay as a content economy or content bank, right? So we are actually kind of giving them the RPlay to be able to pay whoever needs to be paid, and then we would actually collect the money afterwards as a distribution platform.
Krish, real quick, how do you, and as you know, as you're thinking about, as you're talking about this, I'm just thinking about the fact that you're paying the creators in the currency, in the Theta currency. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's a Theta blockchain currency. It's
Theta
called
blockchain. Yeah. But there's obviously going to be a dollar value attached.
There's a dollar value always associated with it. Yeah.
But that's going to change over time, right? How do you manage that? In other words, today that the creator got paid same exact viewing times, but maybe they got paid $50, but next month it's $35 just because the value of the currency has diminished. How do you manage that?
There are a couple of ways, right? So if obviously a creator getting paid in RPlay has a bunch of incentives to hold the RPlay currency itself. So we have the concept of staking, and we have the concept of reward, basically rewarding the content creator more RPlay for keeping it in their wallet. They can always withdraw it if they want, on a daily basis, if that's what they want to do it. They can withdraw it on a weekly basis, whatever their frequency of it is, and that's not a problem at all. But we do provide some incentives for them to hold the currency as much as possible.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it is a fluctuating token, but ultimately,
you could also think about it. The value that they're going to accrue per transaction just changes in relationship to the price.
Right.
So there are incentives, obviously, to keep the token in the economy, and actually, importantly, right, there are also new revenue models that can be introduced because of this, right? So because of because of this, I don't think Krish, you didn't touch on it, right? But a platform like AMC Plus could now open a model where they charge on an ongoing basis, right? On a usage basis. They can potentially sell an NFT associated with content playback. So, and create a revenue stream that, might eclipse anything that they're doing. So there are, it comes down, like you said, to focus and fundamentals, right? So focus is get the tracking part right.
Get them on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Yes. And once that's there, I think we all can agree that the future of video streaming and distribution looks very different a few years from now than it is today. And people are going to come up with all sorts of super creative experiences and interfaces and ideas. And, we're seeing a lot of disruption in the music space. We're going to see a lot of disruption in the video and film space. All of those things are going to happen. The beauty of it is, as complex as it is, it's really simple. Get good at one thing and then make it so that other people can build on.
Dan, man, you just outlined it. I think what you've just said sort of summarizes this is why you guys are so smart and entrepreneurs, right? Dan, you're thinking in terms of there's a platform here, not just a media platform, but there's an actual platform for currency, for promotions, for additional streams of revenue. This is a thing that you're just gonna plant this seed.
Yes.
Right. It's almost like the currency today is just kind of like a price of entry. You just get into this economy, right? And then you guys can kind of go off and do your own thing. As the market evolves, as you've said, the NFT thing is huge. How that's going to play into content purchasing of sorts, who knows how that's going to play out? But very, very cool stuff, guys.
Dan brought up a very definitely we've spoken about that quite a bit. Really, it's about building the foundation, and then there's so many innovative things, and we already kind of have. The other point I was going to mention is the whole subscription fatigue that's happening lately, and the whole ads fatigue that's happening lately. By having a protocol like Replay, that can actually do things like this, right? Micro payments and like what Dan touched upon, the usage-based model, like usage-based, payments for watching content. Like you might not want to subscribe to, AMC, I don't know what or Netflix or Hulu for 10, 15 or whatever dollars per month. You might just want to just watch a movie at, for $1 or for less than that, because it's only an hour long. Like, it's like, why am I,
right? Where on the other side of it, a super fan might want to pay $200 to see that movie and get bonus points for spreading the word, right?
Yeah.
So
there's so many,
yeah, there's different ways.
Go ahead.
No.
I think what you guys again are really describing is like this is the entry to a new economy.
Yeah, it is.
That we know that there are going to be 1,000 things that are going to be super interesting in ways to engage with the end user, and you guys are light years ahead of it, building this foundation, and ultimately being able to, when these things are introduced to the economy, that you can pivot quickly and get involved. And sounds like a hell of a cool thing.
Exactly. And we're talking. Yeah, it is. It's we're pretty excited about it because we're building the tracking layer at such a it's so agnostic to any use case, and we're talking to certain partners, and we're thinking through, okay, how else they can actually incorporate the protocol and the power of what it does and things like that. Some partners have compared us to like a double verify for blockchain, like just like in the ad world, like it's like a thing, right? It's just to track like if it's the right impression has rendered, right? But with blockchain, like it's super. That's the whole point. Super transparent and super open. So it's a trustless platform. Like you don't need a central person to trust like that this data is accurate. So there's so many use cases by building the tracking layer on top of video delivery, and then also facilitating transactions, and if they want to do that as well.
So Krish, I just want to clarify something with the tracking, and so your technology wraps around an AMC Plus's content, right?
Like an existing stream, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that would be whether that content is being served on a Roku, a Vizio, an Android phone. Okay. Yeah. So where's the integration?
You can run on an AMC Plus apps. Yeah.
It sounds like your integration into the into the player tech is primarily just normal stuff that we were using today, but the crunchy stuff that's happening with the blockchain is happening on the back end, right?
Correct. Exactly. Everything is happening on the back end, and it's basically an API wrapper. So there's nothing on the client side that's different. So technically, AMC Plus can just come in, wrap the streams, and then embed the streams back to their apps. Nothing, they won't see any difference. We're just a proxy. We're just a layer on top of that.
Very cool.
So, and that's like, and we wanted to make it in such a way that it is easy to adopt, and there's not much, obviously, legwork there.
Yeah, Kirby, I think what you were asking essentially is the tech like now do they have to rethink everything in the app or the front end, right? Because it's now blockchain, but it doesn't sound like that's what it is.
And also, I mean, I have a lot to learn. By the way, we totally lost my grandma like 20 minutes ago. I got a message. I was so it's okay. I'll explain it to her over Thanksgiving. So I have a lot to learn myself about all this, and I think part of the confusion or the spirit of my question, like just confirming if your tech is applicable to what they're already doing on other platforms. Just because Theta, I know you're backed by Theta Network also has a consumer-facing property. Like I was watching Theta TV earlier. I just want to make sure this could be applicable to what AMC Plus is already doing, or now you have this has to be built for the Theta TV.
No, it's totally it. I mean, that's kind of the advantage of Krish being a mad scientist here, right? It's like this all works through.
Yeah,
like this has to work with everyone. Like it's all about eliminating hurdles, right? Like this has to work with everything because it's gonna be hard enough to convince anyone to use it.
Yeah.
So it has to work.
Guys, I have to ask you. So I know we only have a couple minutes left, Kirby. I'm not sure where we are on time exactly, but it's just about 3 o'clock. I want to be sensitive to everybody's time, but I have to ask you guys. You guys are like, you guys seem to be real. Obviously, you're great co-founders, and you seem to work really well together. Where? How do I ask you this? I'm trying to figure out a way to ask. It's like, where do you guys complement each other, and then where do you guys have a lot of disagreements? What are those two areas?
I actually think it's pretty simple. So like Krish said, he can't he's never worked for anyone before, right? I think that's the whole thing. Like I just trust Krish to figure out the tech stuff, right? And we just bounce ideas around. So it's pretty straightforward, in my opinion, right? I think for some reason, that kind of concept of partnership and not like, being like, hey, you got to go do this, is what makes it work. And I think, from my side, I think, the counterbalances are, I'm super enthusiastic. I think you have to be as an entrepreneur. I get super excited about this stuff. I love talking to people about it. I want to convince people to use it. That's like where the excitement comes from, is figuring out a story that starts to resonate and then building that into something. And I think Krish will kind of curb my enthusiasm on that side of it, but he also in many ways is gets it. And when we kind of see a consistent vision, then I think it's really easy for us to kind of work together to execute against it.
Yeah, I think that's well put. I think I find the balance is very important. I think it's applicable for anyone that's starting a company or has founders and so on. But so you need to know where, you need to know what your kind of what your responsibilities are, and your kind of what you're good at, and also be able to not step into other people's toes and let them do their magic almost, right? I
suck at this. This is where you are good and I'm bad at this. So let's
exactly
figure how we come together and be better together.
Be better together. And I feel like we found the best of that. And obviously, like Dan said, I'm more on the tech side, the execution side. I do have the vision as well. Dan goes above and beyond, and I try to kind of balance it a little bit. I'm like, hey, this is what we can execute, and this is something we got to put it for the future and things like that. I'm more of a roadmap type person, which is great. I think we need like a 30,000 foot, and then also we need everywhere between that.
Yeah.
In terms of disagreements, I mean, I don't know, Dan. Like, I'm trying to. I'm sure we've had disagreements on some.
Yeah, not
like what is like, just to help you guys a little bit, like what is an area, like if you knew that you were going to have to talk about something, you're just like, oh man, if I got to talk to Dan about this, it's going to be a thing
it's
for an hour.
Thing.
I don't know. I would say if I'm sure I'm much less organized than Krish is in terms of how he thinks,
yes.
and a lot of it is probably just keeping each other in check on being organized and stuff.
Yeah, I think being organized.
I think we're pretty good.
I'm a bit of a neat freak and an organization freak, and Dan's kind of fluid, I would say.
Yeah.
Sometimes we had butts into that, and it's like, Dan, like, why didn't you, like, you're supposed to do this, like, it's like, can you just So I would say that maybe that, if anything.
All right, that's not too bad. That's the
worst.
Too
bad.
And that's not bad at all.
It's not too bad.
Beautiful, guys. Hey, where can anyone go to get more information about Replay?
Yeah, just imaginereplay.com. That's the website, and our contact, everything is there. If you want to reach us directly on email, it's hello@imaginereplay.com. And one of us will get back to you guys. So
awesome. And you guys have Discord. Actually, my first time on Discord was today, and checking out your Discord. Which is pretty sweet, by the way. This is my first exposure to Discord. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. So once you get into one, and then like a couple months from now, someone else will drag you into another, and then you'll have like 30 of them.
Yeah, you'll have so many Discords. Yeah.
I was thinking about doing like a streaming, just industry one. Is that relevant
yeah, you
or
should,
not?
100%. I mean,
would you guys say Discord is essentially just like the open Slack? It's like open Slack.
Open Slack.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, 100%. Kirby recommend that you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've had people ping me, like for example, like I put this thing out there about starting a product and marketing group because people ask me, like people do feel like in silos and some orgs, like, hey, I'm the only person in this department, and I can't really bounce ideas off people, and I can't really learn from people. I'm kind of the only one in my department at this huge company doing these things. It would be great if you can introduce me, Kirby, to more people, which I know a lot of people in the space. I'm like, shit, like I like to inspire good conversation in the industry. I like to connect as many people, have as many great conversations in the industry. And so I was going to spin up a LinkedIn group for lack of like a better mechanism to do so.
I think you'll get
a lot Discord.
Discord,
like I could have one for like each kind of department, each type of conversation.
Well, the cool thing is you actually just kind of like set up the bones of it. And then basically, you know, it kind of builds itself.
It does.
Yeah. So I think, I highly recommend it. It's at least a good experiment.
I forgot this is live, so I better go and do that before someone else does it.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you got to claim your own social handles there.
Yeah. Oh man. Awesome, guys. Well, look, I really appreciate your time, and I need to go to Austin at some point. And Dan, I actually owe you. I actually owe you a meal, but that's a story to hash out another time.
Oh, good. Yeah, sounds good, man. Let us know when you're in Austin, and I'm sure if not, we'll see you at either NAB or whatever. So.
Oh yeah, NAB, awesome. I'm going as of yesterday, so see you guys out there.
Yeah,
then
sounds good.
Before anything
else.
All
right. Thank you for inviting us. This was
awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Best of luck.
See ya. Appreciate your time. See ya.
Thank you.